Hello, this is Mr. Jared, and in this video tutorial, we are going to be 3D modeling this object in SOLIDWORKS. So the first thing that I'm going to take notice of is where the origin is located. So the origin is right here, and it is in the middle of these two arcs. The second thing would be my units. So my units on this one is mmgs. That's why you see a lot of solid numbers, no decimal places. Okay, so I am going to pull this to my other screen, and in SOLIDWORKS, I'm going to start out by making a new part. I'll change my units down here to mmgs. My computer is defaulted to IPS, so I need to change that. And we are going to be sketching on the front plane. Now, there are a lot of different ways that you can do this. I am just going to draw this in one fashion, but of course, there's plenty of different ways that you could do it. So I start out by getting a rectangle, normal rectangle tool, and just drawing the rectangle down here. Then I get my dimension tool, and I'm going to look at the picture and dimension as much as I possibly can. So the side of this rectangle is 24. The overall length at the bottom is 190. The bottom of the rectangle to the origin is 88. And from the left side to the origin is a total of 95. Okay. Now I'm going to pull this picture back over to my screen and explain that 95. So if you look real close, the 95 comes over to this extension line, which goes all the way up to the origin. The 96 you see here is just slightly past that, and it's actually to the corner. Okay, the extension line stops at the corner. So the 95 is from the left to the origin. 96 is actually to this corner when that's created. Okay. So next, I'm going to be making these arcs right here. Now you can make those arcs in a whole bunch of different ways. Some people will make them in circles and trim them. Some people will actually just draw arcs themselves. All sorts of different ways. I'll use the arc tool itself just to kind of show you how you can go about doing it like that. So I'm going to use the center point arc, and I'll click on my origin to start. And I'm going to do the outside one first. And I know the outside one crashes into this line and actually gets filleted later. So I'm going to click on that line and actually draw up and around. And I don't know where this stops over here, so I'll just stop it somewhere like that right now. Okay. The inside one, same thing. We'll click in the middle, and it starts somewhere over here, and it kind of wraps around to somewhere over here. All right, so good enough. Okay, now I can dimension these. So the inside one is 42. The outside one is 66. And again, you could do this with the circle tool and then just draw a bunch of lines down and trim it. This is just a different way of doing that. Okay, now I'll get the line tool, and I have a dot right here that I can start with, and that actually comes all the way down here to the bottom of my rectangle. Okay, I'll hit escape, get off of the line tool. I'll get my line tool again. I'll go from this dot, which also goes down to the bottom of the rectangle, hit escape, get my line tool again, and this time it goes from here to the top of the rectangle, and hit escape. Now we have a bunch of things that we need to trim. Okay, so I'll get my trim entities, and I have mine set to trim to closest, and I want to make sure that I'm creating a path that's open, or I guess it's one solid shape. So it goes from here, it goes all the way up through and around and back down to here. So that means things like this line need to go all the way up and around. This line needs to go. Okay, so the inside of it's good. Now this line needs to go away, and so does this line. Okay, now the nice thing about drawing that rectangle first, you can kind of see it instantly gave me that collinear relation for that bottom half. Okay, so I'll hit the green check, and it did not give me that for the upper half. Some of your computers I've seen actually automatically do that. They give you the collinear for the top, some do not. Mine did not, so this is a good example of how you need to double check what your computer individually does. So I'm going to select this line, hold in Shift and select this one, and I'll make those collinear. Okay, so now that also means this side is 24. Now this is tangent right here, so that straight line comes up into that curve. So that's tangent, so you can select both lines by holding in Shift, and we will set that to tangent. Okay, and all three of these angled lines, so if you hold in Shift and select all three of the angled lines, they are parallel with one another. Parallel with one another. Okay, now they're still all blue because we have not told them how far away from the origin they are. So if I get my Smart Dimension tool, what I need to do is actually click the far left side of that rectangle, or what used to be the rectangle, and this point, and that's going to be 96. Okay, so you see it also adjusted these. Now, if I zoom in, it shows in our picture that from this point to this point, in other words, that opening is 48. It will define all of that. And then the distance between these two angled lines, so you have to select both of them, is 24. So now everything should be fully defined. If it's not, just try to figure out what relation you're missing. It's probably something to do with these rectangles right here, of them being collinear, or you don't have that tangent in there. That's the common problem. The last thing we need to do before we extrude it is actually fillet those corners. So if you get your sketch fillet and you change that to 12, I can simply just click on this dot right here, and you can see it pushes my fillet way out here, so it looks more like the picture would. And then this little tiny corner down here as well. And green check. So now we're fully defined. So we can go up to the Features tab and hit Extrude. And we're going to be extruding this to a distance of 4. And if you check out your Z says it's negative, so that means we need to go backwards. So switch it to backwards, hit the green check, and it says our material is alloy steel. So if you right click, you'll see alloy steel is not one of these defaults. So we do need to go into the Edit Material list. And if you scroll down, you will find alloy steel. Make sure you do not select the one that has SS for stainless. You just want alloy steel. Hit Apply and Close, and check out your mass properties. So evaluate and mass properties, and here we should get 338.07 grams. We should have a negative X, a negative Y, and a negative Z. If you got that, you can save it and move on to the next one. If you didn't, please go back and problem solve and figure out where you went wrong.